Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Does anyone else feel like those 3 minutes while we're waiting for the call to start last an eternity? Yes. Yeah. It's like the watch grass never grows or watch corn never grows or whatever that phrase is. Whew. Anyway, y'all made it here to 303. So thanks for coming. Mark couldn't make it today. He's otherwise occupied on the phone, I believe, with lawyers. So you lucked out because you got Jess and I. So you're welcome.
I thank you for that meeting, Rosie.
Oh, well, that's even less fun. So gross. Okay, folks. Well, we are going to get started today with the lovely Chris Glassford sharing her experience of what it has been like since the pandemic hit. Chris, take it away.
Thanks, Natalie. Thanks, Rosie. I am Chris Glassburn, for those that don't know who I am. Initially, when COVID hit, I bawled my eyes out for the first time in a long time because I lost 5 deals in the first day. And I took a huge blow to my gut, I think, when that happened. I was super investor heavy. So all of my investors were very much like, shit hit the fan, I'm backing out, I need my cash just in case. I work with physicians, it's weird. So a lot of physicians were like, I'm concerned about my job before they're all specialists. So anyways, I lost 5 deals. I was like, oh my God, Jess Martin hates me for all of my mutually releases. But it was scary. It was super scary. It was the first time I had been in a spring market because I was part-time the year before, so I didn't really care too much about the spring market. I just got deals when I could get deals, but this was my first time being full-time in a spring market, and I was like super excited to sit here. Whatever everyone talks about, how spring's going to be so busy, you're gonna run around with your head cut off, and I lost 5 deals in a day. So that really made me super upset. And then I kind of took a step back and thought, well, shit, why should I have just kept in healthcare? Because everyone loves healthcare right now. I mean, they're the front lines, they're the superstars, they still are the superstars. Why did I leave this like field that will never go away? So I really contemplated, did I make the right move moving full time? And then Facebook reminded me that I quit exactly 1 year ago on April 1st, which it was like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I quit a year ago full time. But anyways, then I started reading the Shift book, and I would say that kind of changed my mind when it said, if you give up now, then you're going to continue to give up, or you can turn around, and if you can get through this, then you'll be stronger and you'll come out on top. So more or less, I decided to just gun ho and find business as much as possible. And somehow, sorry, I'm fixing something. Somehow I turned around and now I'm running with my head cut off in the spring market. And I don't think, I mean, she just still gets some mutual releases, but that's neither here nor there. But it's been busy. It's been fun. I understand what a spring market is. I have a lot of buyers and sellers versus investors, so it's a whole different ball game, I think, than what I was at the beginning of COVID, when all of my business was coming from investments. And now I have like all these fun, exciting people that are really excited to buy houses, and so they do take a lot more of your time than investors do, but still I think it's good. So in the big moral of the story is, Mark probably had a good thought about making us read this Shift book. Good thing he's not on the line. He would probably love to hear this. But yeah, I think honestly the Shift book really helped me to get a big swift kick in my ass and go full throttle. Here I am. That's next. It's all you, Rosie.
That's amazing. I can feel Mark's head getting bigger as we speak. So,
As I was
great.
thinking that, yeah.
I think that's just because of a lack of a haircut, though, right?
Yeah, that's 100% true. Yeah. Chris, thanks so much. Jess, I am turning the meeting over into your hands. All you.
All right. So how many of you guys tuned in today because you really wanted to hear the news about open houses? Yeah. Okay. I know everyone's curious about, what we think we're going to expect with open houses. Mark and I did some homework and we reached out to both IAR and MIBOR to get their thoughts and recommendations on open houses moving forward here in the coming weeks. And we got some good information. They have not put in place like any official rules for us, which, it's hard. It kind of leaves it up to us as a brokerage. So based on where we are in the phased reopening with the governor, as of right now, this Friday, it will not be illegal or against any rules to host an open house. Okay, so I think that's important, but there is further things to consider here. So when we reached out to MIBOR, their recommendations, of course, are for all of the agents to be respectful of sellers and their recommendations that they've put in place for their homes that they're selling. So if a seller is requesting you wear a mask, you still wear a mask. If they're recommending you have gloves, you wear gloves. And this would go for open houses as well. MIBOR is still recommending virtual showings and virtual open houses whenever possible. We're going to dig into virtual open houses a little bit later on this call. But as for their recommendation of hosting an actual in-person open house, their recommendation is not to do that this weekend, although it's not illegal to do so, but they're not recommending we do that just yet. For counties other than Marion County, they are starting stage 3 this Friday. Stage 3 allows gatherings of up to 100 people, still with social distancing guidelines in place, and recommended face coverings. And they felt that with phase 3, an open house could be successfully accomplished. But Marion County is still a week behind the rest of the counties. So we are not in phase 3 yet in Marion County. Our phase this Friday that we're entering into allows gatherings up to 25. For this reason, MIBOR said if an open house is decided upon, it should be known that only 25 people are recommended at any gathering, but their recommendation is that only one family be permitted inside a property at any one time. This is very much in line with what we're seeing through showing time, with them not allowing overlapping appointments. So I think that's really important to note. MIBOR also thinks that until salons and in-person inside dining is permitted, that we should not be hosting open houses, which I think makes a lot of sense. If we're limiting indoor activities currently, hosting an in-person open house is not in line with that. And that's for here in Marion County. They've also said, agents need to use their best judgment. So if brokers and their clients determine that it best serves their needs in selling their home to host an in-person open house, then that is their decision to make. But keep all of these guidelines in place, right? IAR, They took a very similar stance as Mybor, and their recommendation was no open houses this Friday. They said they're not prohibited, but they're not recommending them starting this Friday. They think those are more appropriate for after June 1st. So the phase that we're entering into on June 1st, open houses would be more appropriate with those larger gatherings and again, restaurants opening. And IAR strongly suggested that agents wear masks and that they ask all guests to wear masks and follow social distancing guidelines for open houses. So I think big picture here, can you host an open house this weekend? You absolutely can. Platt, nor Mybor, or IAR have anything in place to keep you from doing that. Is it recommended? It's not at this point. I think that would be better suited for after June 1st. And you know, Mybor is directing us to virtual showings and open houses. So I know we had some agents last week that actually hosted a virtual open house. And so we're going to dig into that on this call and kind of talk about whether or not that's worth your agent's time to invest in that, to uncover some questions that you guys might have if you decide to host a virtual open house and what that can look like and what it entails. Because I know new technology can feel a little bit overwhelming to all of us, including myself. I have no idea how to host a virtual open house. Even after I watched Emily and Kelly's, I still am like, wow, yourself on camera, like walking around the house, that seems really hard. They made it look really good. So we're going to dig into that. I think that's important to still continue to discover those technologies. IAR, I spoke with them on the phone, and they are still saying like, this could change. This could change at any point, the decision on whether or not to host open houses. And we could have a step back where they actually are prohibited again. So for that reason, I don't think it's a waste of time to continue to learn the new technologies, to invest in virtual showings and open houses, because it might be something that we're going to revisit or continue to see in our market. Are there some questions in the chat? Anyone have anything that they're wondering about open houses? Kelly, loud construction. I can relate to that. Billy, I think open house signs probably, that's another thing. If you need open house signs, Michelle, do we have our sign vendor? They're in production right now, correct?
Sorry, that broke up a little bit. What are you asking about, signs in production?
Yeah, if agents need to order open house signs.
Yes. Yeah, if you don't have open house signs in your arsenal stashed in your garage somewhere, then I would definitely recommend ordering some. We no longer have any at the office, nor are planning to order more because, you know, they get stolen.
Yeah. So signs are being produced if you need open house signs. Be interesting to know about the use of open house signs, and if Emily, you thought that might, Emily and Kelly, if you thought that might help with a virtual open house, and your thoughts and recommendations on that. But that's all I have as far as open houses. So you guys know the recommendations. Oh, one last thing on that. You would want to make sure that you have those COVID waivers signed. So you would want those signed by your sellers who are opening their house up to other people. And then you would want those signed by people coming into the property for the open house. So that is an additional thing that we would be adding to open houses that traditionally we haven't had. So that's pretty important. Kelly says there are dozens of open houses scheduled this weekend, but more in the suburbs. Yeah, probably those donut counties where they're entering phase 3. You're going to see more of them.
Hey, Jess.
Yeah.
Just a quick note to everybody, and I can post this in our Facebook group as well. Just a quick reminder, because we haven't had open houses for a while. If you guys get me your creative copy, whatever you want to provide to me, like 3 days before your open house takes place, we'll get those onto Facebook and Instagram stories. So that'd be great. Happy to help out however needed.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. Thank you, Emily. So I think going from here, I've asked Emily to speak on virtual open houses, her and Kelly's experience hosting one, what they thought about it, if they thought it was worth it, and how they did it. So Emily, if you want to take over here.
Hi everyone. It's good to see you all. Happy Wednesday. Okay, so like Kelly said in the comments, I would not consider us to be, I don't know if we would say we were experts by any means. I think we were just willing to try something and make fools of ourselves. Yeah. So I kind of thought about a couple things. I actually did not host the Facebook. It was hosted through Kelly's Facebook page, her business Facebook page as a Facebook Live. And so I didn't see the analytics on it. So I can't tell you anything about data or following or whatever, but I can tell you how we did it. Thanks, Emily. And then give you a couple of pointers. So we promoted it on Instagram and Facebook. And then what we did was she hosted it. So she went live on her Facebook page. And then I hosted a watch party. So watch parties are something that are kind of new for Facebook, where you can share to your whoever's following you and your followers that you're watching and invite them to watch along. So we've seen it done a lot with my husband's area of expertise in terms of with church stuff. So like hosting church things or hosting concerts or hosting meetings or hosting conversations that are happening with people. So I was able to host and piggyback off of that so it looked like we were going live. We did not do Instagram Live. So while Facebook owns Instagram, they do not link in their live. I'm seeing questions. Hold on, let me see if there's, hold on. So sorry, I just want to make sure that I answer things. Oh yeah, we did have champagne. So Instagram Live is a different thing that you could do. You can actually host that with 2 different people, but you both have to be holding your phones. So I think some of the things that Kelly and I navigated were, one, like what is the setup for all of the technology? So if you want to answer questions, you're going to have 2 different setups. You're going to have a filming setup, unless it's like just you and your laptop, walking around with your laptop. But for the 2 of us, we had a phone set up and we streamed live from the Facebook, but then Kelly also had her laptop up to answer questions. And since I was hosting a party, then I had my phone with me as well, because people who ask me questions from the hosting, from like the party that I'm hosting, do not go to Kelly's. Does that make sense? Not if that makes sense. Okay, so Kelly and I both are really professional, and we have light rings that, and no, I'm kidding. But you can get tripods with light rings. I would recommend doing that if you're going to do any sort of video, even if it's just conversational. So we had a phone on a tripod. It was really challenging. I don't know if somebody saw this part, but at one point I tried to take the phone off of the light ring so that we could walk around. I dropped it on the floor. And so, but to give a tour, I think you are it's either gonna be like a selfie situation. You could get a gimbal stick. You could also get, like, I have a DJI Mimo, which shoots video, but maybe would at least hold and stabilize if you're gonna do selfie stuff. But I would recommend having somebody else shoot with you if you do it. So I think it actually worked out well that we did it together, because also there was a lot of conversation. I don't know, Kelly, what would you think about timeline? Yeah, the brokerage could also have a watch party. We kind of thought we had an hour and a half. That felt a little daunting when we first committed to it and started. It went pretty well. Yeah, I would say maybe an hour at best if it's just you, but you want to give people an opportunity to get on and off Facebook and kind of, or see that you're live, right? So people who are checking and then can see, so you don't want it just to necessarily be 15 minutes. So other things that I think I really was nervous about, no, we did not post it on the BLC. We only did it through our social media channels. So I was really nervous about the specific house that we were showing, because I didn't want to look like a joker that didn't know anything about MCM's homes. So I actually did my research and listened to I listened to a podcast and read quite a few articles and just wanted to make sure I understood that. But I honestly don't know how much more value this kind of presentation is unless you're offering a different kind of information. Does that make sense? So, like, I don't necessarily know if a selfie tour or a self-guided tour that you film on your phone and then post to your Facebook page, if it's just going to be a tour of the home, if it creates anything different, you know, than doing that live virtually. So I think that there has to be a content, you know, does that make sense, everybody? Not if that makes sense. So, so I think you need to know about your neighborhood. I think that was something that, like, Kelly and I did not necessarily have conversations ahead of time, but we both knew that we knew enough about the area, enough about the amenities surrounding the area, enough about some other things that we could have some conversation. And I actually think that that's the benefit to this kind of thing, is that it shows that you're an expert in an area. It shows the neighborhood that you like. It shows that you can kind of highlight it. So, yeah. Any questions so far? Kelly, what am I missing and not talking about? Type quickly. Or does anyone have questions about how you actually do, or the technology, or kind of the accessories that I mentioned?
So Emily, I thought you had said earlier, I'm trying to figure this out. So I'm like looking all of this up as we talk about it. So on Instagram, or I'm sorry, I'm just gonna ask a question. You said that you could share, or you could have the party as well, but it was limited to 2 people. Was that
on Instagram? No, you can go Instagram live. I don't know how many people you can invite with Instagram live. I'll be honest, I've only seen 2 people conversations on the live stream. I think you can tag somebody else, but we didn't even use Instagram. So, like,
okay,
I think we only did Facebook. I think Instagram felt really daunting, and then it would have required another cameraman. Or Instagram is more for like selfies and conversations. So, like,
right.
I think, like, if Kelly and I were going to have a conversation about the market in Midtown, we could do an Instagram live on that, because it's more just us having a conversation and people kind of looking in on our conversation. Now you can't Instagram live with, like, I think you could do it holding a phone and giving a tour yourself for sure. But I don't know, you know, like, we just did not even utilize that, because we were like, we had promoted it on Facebook. We had set up an event on Facebook.
Yep.
And then had people RSVP, and then I think Kelly put the link up in that. Yeah. So she hosted on her business page, and then hosted a watch party on her personal page. And I hosted a watch party, I believe, on my personal page as well. I don't think that I could do, I think we ran into issues with Indie Haven's
Facebook page hosting a watch party for I don't think you can host a watch party as a business page.
Yeah, that's what I was curious on, how like the brokerage, I'll look into it more to see like if the brokerage would be able to assist.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
I'll look into it. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to read Kelly's thing. I host my business page. I think
other questions. One was, what feedback did you get from viewers? And then would you do it again?
I think we got feedback in the moment from people who said that they just liked seeing us and that they thought it was a great idea. But I think to Kelly's point, it was good for personal promotion rather than highlighting the listing. So I can see that, you know, like, I think that you can highlight a listing with video. Between video, pre-recorded video tours, and Matterport, I don't know how much. Yeah. Same minutes. Minna says that's just the point of an open house anyways. Yeah, right. So it's just getting to know the agent. You know, like in terms of somebody selling the house, I mean, I don't know if Kelly got any offers on the house or a lot of uptick in showings because of it. I would say that's not the purpose of a virtual open house. Because I mean, to Minna's point, actually, a lot of people host open houses, yeah, because they want to sell a house, but they want to, you know, get more clients or meet more people. So I think you have to look at it in that way.
Did you feel that it met that need or that goal of, you know, reaching out to your sphere, seeming like the expert in the neighborhood or maybe on a certain house and highlighting your skills as an agent?
I think we had a lot of people pop on and off. So I think that's a passive thing. I can't say like, oh yeah, I yielded one client from this, or I think that this happens, but I think it's just another drop in the bucket of how you create like your efficacy, I guess, or your ability as an agent. So I think you need to be comfortable when you're doing it. And oh, sorry, come here, say hi real quick. Hi. I didn't have my door closed. Okay, I'm on a meeting. Oh, I'm on a meeting, so he didn't write it. No, I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. We have a fire truck coming to the neighborhood, so it's really exciting. So what was I saying? Oh, I think it's just another drop in the bucket. I do think you need to feel comfortable in front of a camera. I think you've got to have some things planned out that you're going to talk about. And yeah.
Would you do it again?
Oh, for sure. I think also I would do it. Like, it was fun to do it with Kelly, because I think one of the things that it felt like too is that, and I think I said this during it, I was like, look, we can work together. Like, we're for each other in this. We're excited to like have that. So yeah, I think I would definitely do it again. Yeah, Kelly, if only there's champagne. But it was fun. Yeah. I mean, I would do it. I wouldn't do it for a full 90 minutes. I'd keep it an hour. And then it does post to the page afterwards. So the other thing too is that it becomes passive content that people can watch again. So Kelly, do you have any numbers on how many people total have watched it versus how many people saw it in real time?
I know I was one of those that watched it.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing, Emily and Kelly.
Yeah.
I think all of this information is really helpful for all of us. Kelly had a few other things that she had touched on about open houses and in-person open houses that I wanted to circle back on after our talk about virtual open houses. She had mentioned that some agents that she knows who have hosted open houses are having that COVID waiver sign, but also asking for phone numbers for tracing. I think that's a great recommendation. So that if someone did report that they had been sick, either the homeowners or yourself, that you're able to let those people who came to the open house know. So I think that's a really wonderful idea. And then she had mentioned safety standards. So just to recap, the safety standards that MIBOR and IAR both recommend, and then us as a brokerage recommend when hosting an in-person meeting or open house, and this applies to showings as well, wearing a mask, extremely important. I know you're all getting your plat masks at the end of this week, so you'll be able to rock those along with your plat shirt. You can just match. And then hand sanitizer, wiping down surfaces, still making sure if it's your listing, having those lights and doors, the lights turned on and the doors open prior to a showing, so people are coming in contact with less surfaces, minimizing the amount of people in a property. So in Marion County right now, MIBOR is recommending one party in any property at one time. So it wouldn't be like a typical open house where you have multiple buyers coming through all at once. And then gloves, if gloves, I guess, just in general, not if the seller is requiring them, but if a seller is requiring any of those items, masks, gloves, or booties, that's something that you need to make sure that you're meeting those needs. That's all I have for open houses. If there aren't any other questions, I saw one question come through about using Zoom as a platform. I don't know of anyone else who has hosted a virtual open house at our brokerage. So if you have, let us know. I think that's it as far as questions, Rosie.
Yeah, Jess, I'm just going to talk a little bit about opening up the office. Mm-hmm. We are starting to think about that and consider what our options are. So we haven't determined yet exactly what that's going to look like, but we are targeting June 1st to be a date that some of us will be back in the office, likely just staff members, and then agents can come in if they like absolutely need to. So more details to come on that later, but I just wanted to let you know that we are thinking about it. That's something that we're planning for right now. And hopefully we'll get to see your lovely faces, albeit masked, sometime soon. So yeah, that's all we have for today. Thanks so much for coming, and we are sending you guys tons of love. So hope you have a good one and a good Memorial Day. Adios, everyone.